Hi, this is Blake from the Sticky Buttons podcast, and I absolutely love Jedi Fallen Order. As it turns out, it's my favorite game of all time. I've beaten it twice, 100%ed it, and started a third playthrough on my Steam Deck. I love the exploration, the combat, the characters, and seeing unique places in the Star Wars universe. And I couldn't be more excited about its sequel, Jedi Survivor. But I don't think this game will be as good as the first one. I mean, I hope it is, but based on the marketing and the limited previews, I have a bad feeling about this. Maybe it's based on a few red flags. Maybe I don't think they can capture what made the first game special again. Or maybe I was completely fulfilled by the story of the first game. Perhaps a sequel just isn't warranted. Or perhaps what they are focusing on in the sequel is not what made the first game special. So, let's talk about what made Jedi Fallen Order so special. I really think Jedi Fallen Order is a masterpiece, and it succeeds as a game by doing what games do better than any other medium. But, let's come back to that. First off, Jedi Fallen Order absolutely nails the vibe of the Star Wars universe, and what I mean by that is every environment, setting, and place match the design principles of the original trilogy. Thematically, when you look at the Star Wars universe, everything has this look that it's been used and worn, but it's futuristic and necessary. It has this retro-futurism feel to it. In the original films, this was a byproduct of the limitations brought about by building props on a budget. But when you look at Jedi Fallen Order, the environment art and setting building, it just nails this feeling time and time again. It also helps that thematically, Cal is dealing with his past of being a Padawan during Order 66, and having the wreckage of the Clone Wars thrown around the game really fits that retro style. But it's also a constant reminder of what Cal is dealing with, while also fitting within the original design philosophy. Additionally, I'm a huge fan of Respawn. They replicate this retro future look in their other games as well. And I mean, take a look at this environment from Titanfall 2. It's so cool and worn, but it's also futuristic. It's really a shame EA ruined that whole thing. I sure hope they don't do that again with another game. You know, Jedi Survivor. Also, this is your reminder to play Titanfall 2. It's amazing, and the campaign is the best FPS single-player experience I've ever had. Go play Titanfall 2. Anyways, another key feature that makes Jedi Fallen Order stand above other games is the exploration. And that's where this game shines. Exploring these jaw-droppingly beautiful vistas and immaculately designed ancient tombs is my favorite part of this game. But we'll come back to this when we talk about the story. Jedi Fallen Order's exploration also embodies the feel of classic Metroidvanias. Throughout Cal's journey, he is reconnecting to the Force after his connection to the Force was damaged in the wake of surviving Order 66. Because of this, when he relearns a Force ability, this becomes a tool for both exploration and combat. After you learn a new ability, it allows you to access new areas of the world, which lead to the discoveries of exploration feeling that much more earned. But speaking of combat, Jedi Fallen Order's combat is a triumph, and it nails how I thought it would feel to wield a lightsaber. And using the Force abilities in combat works so well. At first, when you're rediscovering your abilities, they provide minor buffs and create small opportunities. But once you level up, unlock more Force abilities, and become better at the combat, you have a whole host of tools at your disposal for dispatching the Empire's agents. And this variety of options gives the player creativity in how they handle situations, which can lead to some truly epic moments. As far as the story goes, Cal is a Padawan of the Jedi Order, and is living as a scrapper, hiding from the Empire. In the opening act of the game, Cal decides to use the Force to save his friend. However, this is seen by a probe droid, and the Empire finds Cal in hiding. He is rescued by Cere and Grease. You quickly discover that Cere used to be a Jedi, but has cut herself off from the Force, and Grease is her hired pilot and friend. Cere has an ambition of rebuilding the Jedi Order, but needs your help. So she asks you to open a Force-sealed vault on an uncharted planet. Cal confesses to Seer that his connection to the Force is also damaged, but she convinces him to try anyways. And in many ways, this is where the game begins. Once on this uncharted planet, you are set to explore these ancient ruins and are caught in a tight spot, saved by a cute droid, BD-1, who is injured while helping you. Cal fixes up BD-1 and he accompanies you as you explore this ruin. You find the vault and find a recording from the Jedi Master Cordova, who tells you you are in the ruins of a Zepho temple and they were an ancient race of Force wielders. Cordova then goes on to tell you, while exploring another Zepho temple on another planet, he had a vision of the fall of the Jedi and hid a holocron in this vault. Now, a holocron can be used as a tool to help locate other Force-sensitive children, and is how Seer plans to rebuild the Jedi Order. In order to get this holocron, Cal needs a key to this vault, and this key is called the Astrium, and is hidden on an off-world Zepho temple. Jedi Master Cordova is convinced if another Jedi was to learn of the Zepho and their fall, they would have the knowledge to rebuild a better Jedi Order. He also explains that the Jedi Council were uninterested in his findings and did not believe that the Purge was coming. So he took this holocron and went into exile. And that is your call to action. You are quested to walk Cordova's path and learn of the Zepho and return to the vault with the Astrium. As I said earlier, exploring these temples and tombs was my favorite part of the game, and you get to learn so much about this ancient civilization of Force users that also fell, just like the Jedi. And how their fall mirrors that of the Jedi's fate is something I really enjoyed as a Star Wars fan. But it makes sense to be in these tombs as part of the story. You have been quested by Jedi Master Cordova to walk his path and discover these places and their deeper meaning. Which brings me back to my previous statement about how this game does what games do best. You are exploring these tombs because it makes sense to do so. The gameplay makes sense based on the story of the characters, and that's something no other medium can do, and is what makes Jedi Fallen Order a triumph. Throughout this journey, learning of the Zepho while being hunted by the Empire leads to the conclusion at the end of this game. Now, I love this game, so I won't spoil it for you, but in the end, Cal walked his quested path and decided his fate. The quest is over, and he fulfilled his obligations to Jedi Master Cordova. The explorations of these tombs was my favorite part of the game, and as much as I loved this, it does not make sense to go back to these tombs or to explore any other Zepho ruins in its upcoming sequel. And to me, exploring these ruins is at the core of this game, and the reason the game has depth and meaning. But because that part of Cal's journey has concluded, there is no reason for exploration of this ilk to be part of the upcoming game. And my fear is that this game will become more combat and less exploration. Or worse, that it won't really make sense thematically to explore similar ruins, but it was part of the first game, so throw it in. I did say I loved the combat in this game, but based on all the promotional material, this has raised some big red flags for me. As much as I love Jedi Fallen Order, I do have some criticisms, and there are parts where Jedi Fallen Order fails as a game. My biggest criticism of Jedi Fallen Order is how it suffers from what is known as ludonarrative dissonance. Ludonarrative dissonance is the conflict between a video game's narrative told through the story and the narrative told through the gameplay. Now, I did credit the game's exploration for the gameplay matching the story, but this is where the combat fails for me. And I believe Jedi Fallen Order's combat suffers from ludonarrative dissonance at times. As a Jedi, you are supposed to value all life, and taking life unnecessarily is against the values of a Jedi. Now to be clear, I have no issue slicing up some stormtroopers, but I do have an issue with killing animals in this game, which maybe says more about me, but I am not exaggerating when I say you absolutely mutilate animals in this game. When you are fighting a person like a bounty hunter or stormtroopers, the lightsaber acts as like a hot baseball bat and leaves heated marks on the body. But when it's an animal, it acts as a lightsaber would, and it just slices right through flesh. I understand that the IP is owned by Disney, and they don't want lightsabers to be able to cut off the limbs of every human enemy, but The fact that this only happens when you kill animals just makes it that much more jarring. And I know that if they left these physics on for human enemies, it would likely lead to the game getting a more mature rating, and Disney and EA want to be able to sell this to a wider audience, but I just don't like it. I also understand that having these animals in the game adds to the variety of enemies you see and adds depth to the combat, but it's just not my favorite. And now, what does this mean for Jedi Survivor? Does it make sense from a story perspective to go back to these tombs and explore as a Jedi archaeologist? I don't think so. That part of the story is over. In the first game, learning Force abilities was tied to improving your combat and exploration, but Cal already has his Force abilities. How will they make the exploration meaningful and rewarding? This remains an unanswered question for me. But I'm also concerned about the combat. Don't get me wrong, the combat looks sick, and I love this type of combat in games. And I mean I love it. But I don't want to feel shitty after killing a unique and endangered species in an epic boss fight. And from what we've seen, it appears to be more of that. Also, what made the story of this game so special was this path set to you by Jedi Master Cordova. And the weight of that makes your actions feel special and made for an incredibly compelling Star Wars story. And Disney doesn't always have the best track record with Star Wars stories, so I am trepidatious to say the least. The first game also got a lot of heat from big outlets for all the exploration rewards being tied to customization. And honestly, this was one of my favorite parts. Whether it was finding a new lightsaber part or a poncho, man, I genuinely loved the ponchos. Finding a poncho genuinely brought me joy, and I liked swapping them out to match the different biomes I was exploring. And I just feel like that's going to change because of the amount the big outlets harped on this one aspect of the game. Another red flag for me on this front is the pre-order bonuses for the deluxe version. I just think it's a little weird that they are Han and Luke's clothes, with Han's blaster and Luke's lightsaber. Not that everything has to be original, but Jedi Fallen Order is very unique, and having outfits that are just not is just kind of putting me off. Take a look at this concept art for Cal. It's different and unique, and you can see the original design influence throughout the game in many ponchos and lightsaber customizations. And I have to be honest, this yellow bomber jacket is my favorite Luke outfit. I even rocked this in Star Wars Battlefront 2. But that was a customization for Luke, and this just doesn't feel genuine or even earned, because there is absolutely no link between Cal, Han, and Luke. Not that there has to be, but it just seems like fan service, and the bad kind of fan service which hurts the original vision. I would have liked to see cool original designs as a pre-order bonus, and not these outfits we've seen before. Hell, to pre-order the deluxe version of this game is $90, which is just gross, but I have to say, I would have paid $100 if I could rock the original concept art. Jedi Fallen Order is my favorite game of all time. Of course, there are things to criticize, and nothing is perfect, and nothing ever will be. But I loved the world and environments you got to explore. I loved the tombs. I loved the architecture of the ancient civilizations. I loved exploring them through the lens of a Jedi archaeologist. I loved the characters and their relationships that form and grow throughout your journey. And I love BD1. He's just the best boy. And he has a special place in my heart, and is my favorite droid from the Star Wars universe. I love the combat, and I just absolutely love how the team was able to capture the vibe of Star Wars. And I just loved being a part of this world. This is also the first game I played after I moved to New York City, and it gave me a space to feel comfortable when I wasn't necessarily comfortable with my situation. Also, I played this while I was looking for a new job. It gave me a sense of routine. I would work my part-time job, apply for 10 jobs, and then play Jedi Fallen Order. And I will always love this game for giving me a place to explore and feel excited when I was scared of my surroundings and unsure of myself. Perhaps it's what this game gave me for why I love it so much. But hey, maybe it's just one of the greats. Nobody wants me to be wrong about Jedi Survivor more than me. I truly hope this game delivers and I get the chance to be excited about these characters and Star Wars and just enjoy the story in the game in a better place in my life. But I guess we'll just have to wait and play it for ourselves. Thank you for watching, and may the Force be with you.